Our planet often feels familiar. We see the same mountains, oceans, forests, and deserts on maps, and assume that Earth is a well-understood system governed by predictable scientific laws. Gravity behaves consistently. Water freezes at the same temperature. Mountains form through tectonic movement, and rivers flow downhill toward the sea. But every so often, nature quietly breaks those expectations. Hidden across the planet are places and phenomena that scientists still struggle to fully explain. These are not myths or legends. They are real locations and real observations documented by researchers, explorers, and satellites. Yet despite decades of study, many of these mysteries remain unsolved. Some involve strange geological formations that seem impossible. Others involve unexplained lights in the sky, unusual sounds from the depths of the ocean, or natural phenomena that challenge our understanding of physics, chemistry, and biology. Today we are exploring 20 Earth mysteries that scientists still can't fully explain. These are not just beautiful places or unusual landscapes. They are puzzles, natural riddles that remind us how much of our own planet remains unknown. Because even in the age of satellites, deep-sea robots, and advanced science, Earth still holds secrets. 1. The boiling river of the Amazon. Deep in the Peruvian Amazon flows a river that appears to break the rules of nature. Known locally as Shanai Timpishka, parts of this river reach temperatures close to boiling. Animals that fall into the water can be cooked alive within minutes. What makes this river so mysterious is that there are no nearby volcanoes or geothermal systems that could explain the extreme heat. Some scientists believe deep fault lines allow geothermal heat to reach the surface. But the scale of the phenomenon remains unusual. For now, the river remains one of the strangest natural wonders hidden in the rainforest. 2. The sailing stones of Death Valley. In the dry desert of Death Valley, large rocks mysteriously move across the desert floor, leaving long trails behind them. For decades, no one could explain how stones weighing hundreds of kilograms could move without human or animal interaction. Recent studies suggest a rare combination of thin ice sheets and strong winds may slowly push the rocks across the ground. But even with this explanation, witnessing the event remains extremely rare. For many visitors, the tracks appear overnight, as if the rocks moved on their own. 3. The bloop sound. In 1997, underwater microphones operated by National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration detected one of the loudest ocean sounds ever recorded. The sound, nicknamed the bloop, was powerful enough to be heard across thousands of kilometers of ocean. Scientists eventually suggested that the noise may have been caused by a massive iceberg cracking underwater. But the original recording was so unusual and powerful that it sparked years of speculation about unknown ocean phenomena. 4. The Hessdalen Lights. In a remote valley in Hessdalen Valley, glowing orbs frequently appear in the night sky. These lights move slowly, change color, and sometimes hover silently for minutes at a time. Researchers have been studying the phenomenon since the 1980s, setting up monitoring stations to capture the lights on camera. Some scientists believe the lights may be caused by ionized dust particles or rare plasma formations. But despite decades of observation, the exact mechanism behind the lights is still debated. 5. The Door to Hell. In the desert of Darvaza gas crater, a massive crater has been burning continuously for more than 50 years. The crater formed after a Soviet drilling accident in 1971. Engineers set the escaping gas on fire to prevent toxic fumes from spreading, expecting the flames to burn out within weeks. Instead, the fire has continued for decades. Scientists still do not fully understand how such a large underground gas source continues feeding the flames. 6. The Taos hum. Residents of the small town of Taos report hearing a constant low-frequency humming noise. Not everyone can hear it, but for those who can, the sound is persistent and sometimes disturbing. Investigations have ruled out common explanations like industrial machinery or electrical interference. Some theories suggest it may be related to natural geological vibrations or atmospheric conditions. Yet no definitive source has ever been identified. 7. Blood falls. In Antarctica, a strange red liquid flows out of a glacier, staining the ice like blood. This eerie phenomenon occurs at blood falls. The red color comes from iron-rich water that oxidizes when it reaches the air. But the true mystery lies beneath the glacier. The water originates from a hidden underground ecosystem that has been isolated from the surface for millions of years, containing microbes capable of surviving without sunlight. 8. The eternal lightning storm. Above Lake Maracaibo, lightning storms occur almost every night. This phenomenon, called the Catatumbo lightning, can produce thousands of lightning strikes in a single evening. Scientists believe a combination of warm lake air, surrounding mountains, and atmospheric instability creates the perfect conditions for constant storms. But why the phenomenon is so consistent in this specific location remains unusual. 9. The moving magnetic North Pole. For centuries, compasses pointed toward a stable magnetic North Pole. But in recent decades, the pole has started moving rapidly across the Arctic. The shift is caused by changes in Earth's molten core, but the speed of the movement has surprised scientists. Because navigation systems rely on magnetic models, researchers must constantly update global maps to keep up with the pole's changing location. 10. The fairy circles of Namibia. In the deserts of Namib Desert, thousands of perfectly circular patches appear in the sand. These formations, called fairy circles, can stretch across hundreds of kilometers. Some scientists believe termites create them. Others think they result from plants competing for water underground. Even today, researchers continue debating which explanation is correct. 11. The Bermuda Triangle. Stretching between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico lies one of the most famous mysterious regions on Earth, the Bermuda Triangle. For decades, this area has been associated with unusual disappearances of ships and aircraft. Pilots have reported instruments malfunctioning, compasses spinning unpredictably, and strange weather patterns forming suddenly over the ocean. One of the most famous cases occurred in 1945 when 5 U.S. Navy training planes known as Flight 19 disappeared during a routine mission. Despite large-scale search operations, no wreckage was ever found. Scientists have proposed several explanations. Some believe underwater methane gas eruptions could reduce the density of the water, causing ships to sink rapidly. Others suggest powerful storms, rogue waves, or magnetic anomalies. Yet despite modern satellite monitoring and improved navigation systems, the Bermuda Triangle continues to capture the imagination of researchers and explorers alike. 12. The Stone Forest of China. In the province of Yunnan stands one of the most surreal landscapes on the planet, the Stone Forest. Thousands of towering limestone pillars rise sharply from the ground, forming what looks like a petrified forest made entirely of rock. Some of these formations reach heights of over 30 meters, creating narrow pathways and maze-like structures between them. Geologists believe the formations began forming over 250 million years ago, when the region was covered by a shallow sea. Over millions of years, water slowly dissolved the limestone rock, leaving behind tall, jagged pillars. While the general process of karst erosion is well understood, the unusual density and dramatic shapes of these formations make this landscape particularly unique. Walking through the stone forest feels less like visiting a natural environment and more like exploring the ruins of an ancient stone city. 13. Lake Hillier's pink water. On an island off the southern coast of Australia lies a lake that seems almost unreal. The water of Lake Hillier is bright pink, so vividly colored that it looks like strawberry milk from above. What makes the lake even more fascinating is that the color remains pink even when the water is removed from the lake in containers. Scientists believe the unusual color may come from microorganisms, such as algae and bacteria, that produce red pigments in highly salty environments. However, the exact balance of biological and chemical factors responsible for the intense color is still being studied. Despite decades of research, Lake Hillier remains one of the most visually striking natural mysteries on Earth. 14. The Great Blue Hole. Off the coast of Belize lies a massive underwater sinkhole known as the Great Blue Hole. From above, the formation appears as a perfect dark blue circle surrounded by bright turquoise ocean water. The hole measures over 300 meters across and plunges more than 120 meters deep. Geologists believe the formation began as a limestone cave system during the last ice age, when sea levels were much lower. As sea levels rose, the caves flooded and eventually collapsed, forming the giant circular sinkhole. But recent expeditions have revealed deeper mysteries inside the blue hole. Explorers have discovered massive stalactites, unusual geological layers, and even zones where oxygen is almost completely absent. These discoveries provide clues about ancient climate conditions, but they also show how much remains hidden beneath the ocean's surface. 15. The Crooked Forest. Near the town of Gryfino in Poland lies one of the strangest forests in Europe, the Crooked Forest. Hundreds of pine trees grow with a dramatic 90-degree bend near their base before curving upward toward the sky. All of the trees bend in the same direction, creating an eerie and almost unnatural pattern. The trees were planted around the 1930s, but the reason for their unusual shape is still debated. Some researchers believe the trees were intentionally bent by farmers who wanted curved wood for building furniture or boats. Others think heavy snowfall or unusual environmental conditions may have distorted the trees during their early growth. Because historical records from the area were lost during World War II, the true reason behind the forest's unusual shape may never be fully known. 16. The Meraki Boulders. Along a quiet beach in New Zealand sit dozens of enormous stone spheres, known as the Meraki Boulders. Some of these boulders are nearly perfectly round and can reach up to 2 meters in diameter. Scattered along the coastline, they look almost like giant marbles left behind by some ancient civilization. In reality, the boulders formed through a natural geological process called concretion. Over millions of years, minerals slowly accumulated around small cores of sediment, gradually forming large spherical stones. However, the remarkable symmetry and size of the Meraki boulders make them stand out among similar formations around the world. For many visitors, the beach looks less like a natural shoreline and more like a scene from another planet. 17. The Magnetic Hill Illusion. Around the world, there are locations where gravity itself appears to behave strangely. One famous example is Magnetic Hill, where cars placed in neutral seem to roll uphill rather than downhill. Drivers who visit these sites often watch their vehicles slowly move against what appears to be the slope of the road. However, the phenomenon is actually an optical illusion. The surrounding landscape hides the true horizon, tricking the brain into misjudging the slope of the terrain. Even though the explanation is understood, experiencing the illusion in person can still feel strangely unsettling. It's a reminder that sometimes the greatest mysteries are not in nature itself, but in how our brains interpret the world around us. 18. The Socotra Dragon Trees. Far from the mainland of Yemen lies the isolated island of Socotra, often described as the most alien-looking place on Earth. One of the island's most famous plants is the dragon's blood tree, known for its umbrella-shaped canopy that looks like something from a science fiction movie. These unusual trees evolved in isolation for millions of years, adapting to the island's harsh climate and limited rainfall. Their shape helps capture moisture from the air and protect the soil beneath them from intense sunlight. Nearly a third of the plant species on Socotra exist nowhere else on Earth. The island's unique ecosystem provides scientists with a rare glimpse into how life can evolve in extreme isolation. 19. The underwater crop circles of Japan. Off the coast near the Amami Islands, divers discovered mysterious circular patterns etched into the sandy ocean floor. The formations resemble crop circles, perfectly symmetrical rings several meters wide with intricate ridges and designs. For years, their origin remained completely unknown. Eventually, marine biologists discovered that the circles were created by a small species of pufferfish. The male fish carefully constructs the patterns to attract a mate, spending days moving sand grain by grain. The circles help guide ocean currents and collect fine sediment, creating the perfect environment for eggs. What once appeared to be an unexplained underwater mystery turned out to be one of the most elaborate courtship displays in the animal kingdom. 20. The Lonar Crater Lake. In western India lies one of the world's most unusual impact sites, Lonar Lake. The crater formed roughly 50,000 years ago when a massive meteor struck Earth at incredible speed, carving out a nearly perfect circular depression in the basalt rock. Over time, rainwater filled the crater, forming a lake. But what makes Lonar Lake especially unusual is its chemistry. The water contains both highly salty and highly alkaline conditions, creating an environment unlike most other lakes on the planet. Scientists have discovered rare microorganisms living in the water that thrive in these extreme conditions. Studying the lake helps researchers understand not only Earth's extreme ecosystems, but also the types of environments where life might exist on other planets. As we reach the end of our journey through these 20 mysteries, one thing becomes clear. Earth is far more complex and far more surprising than we often imagine. Even with satellites orbiting the planet, deep-sea robots exploring the ocean floor, and powerful scientific instruments analyzing every corner of the globe, there are still phenomena we cannot fully explain. Some mysteries will eventually be solved as science advances. Others may take decades or even centuries to understand. But that is part of what makes our planet so fascinating, because every unexplained light, every strange geological formation, and every mysterious sound reminds us of something important. We are still explorers on our own world, and somewhere out there, hidden in a remote valley, beneath the ocean, or deep inside a forest, the next great Earth mystery is waiting to be discovered.